Good day, beautiful people. This is week 7 of the Healing the Womb medicine container. Today we're exploring the root chakra. We're going to go into finances and creating a business that sustains us in the new earth reality that not only brings us abundance in a life of comfort and sustainability, but also allows us to really do those things and be of service in the ways that we know that we are here to be at this time. So this is very exciting that we're exploring the root chakra today, because it's all about, fears of survival and being alive. And in this current now moment, there's a huge situation happening on our planet that many are calling a pandemic, and is really bringing up those fears and our relationship to the reality. So it's really a beautiful and fascinating moment in time for us to be exploring this together. We'll be talking about how our consciousness really interacts with the reality. And also the session is very much inspired by the sessions that I had with the ladies in this group yesterday, because we know that everything is related. And I'm looking at you, Lee. I'm going to be sharing a couple of the codes that came through yesterday during our session. So we're going to get a chance to move through those, because I'm sure more of us will resonate with the information. Okay, so let's take a deep breath together just to come into the space. Breathe into our heart, breathe into our belly. Breathe into our love. Breathe into our peace. Don't worry. So just going to move our awareness through our body, through the sacral, into the root, down all the way through our feet, opening up our feet chakras. Growing roots into the ground. Grounding any scattered energy, bringing into focus. Any preoccupation. Pulling all of the awareness that might be flying around outside of our body, talking to other people, doing other stuff, being busy, pulling it all in. Back into our body, through the feet chakra. Back into presence. Feeling the stillness of the trees. Feeling all of the support that the trees are grounding in right now. The living electric light. Feeling stable and rooted like a big, tall tree. Feeling patient and calm in the stillness. Feeling comfort and security in the stillness. Big wave of love coming in. Okay. So slowly come back to our space here together. Maybe wiggle your toes, shake your shoulders a little bit. Okay. I'm really excited for today's class because I feel like it's a really personal moment in time. As all of you know that I'm about to poop out a little human. Brian says I'm not pooping her out, but what does he know? And I'm being in this house, and it's been 5 years, I think April 1st. So yesterday marks the 5-year anniversary of the first time I ever came to visit the land. I arrived on the land 5 years ago on April 1st, and I was like, is this some sort of cosmic joke, or, you know, because it was April Fool's Day. But yeah, so it feels like a full circle kind of moment in time, especially, you know, because 7 years ago at the end of March is when I started communicating with galactics for the very first time, when I first woke up, basically, to everything. And so it feels like a very completing kind of moment. You know, they say 7 years is when all the cells in your body kind of renew and you become this totally new person. And I totally feel that way. And it feels really amazing to celebrate that with all of you and to be able to integrate and distill all of these things that were valuable to me and to be able to share it with you. And as I was reflecting on, you know, today's energy and what was to be transmitted, I just wanted to start by saying that, you know, these techniques and these teachings, they're not just information that, you know, I've read somewhere. In fact, I don't really read that much. I used to love to read when I was a little kid, and, you know, I still like to read sometimes. It's just all of the things that we're talking about have been things that have been integrated through dream time and through communicating with the higher self and through actually just using my own brain to learn things from the reality. And this is something that we're calling, you know, self-leadership, higher self-leadership. We're really trusting in our own self and using our own brain. And this is a way that we experience our sovereignty. And so in that, you know, I just want to share that in this life, I am now about to turn 26, and I have been homeless many times. My parents were interesting. My mom had sort of a mental illness, and now I understand that she was really actually possessed. And these entities have been trying to attack me, you know, since as long as I've been here, present on this planet. I have been drugged and raped, and I have, you know, been abducted, and I have experienced all of these things. And it's really these techniques and these things, that these processes that we're talking about now, that have transformed all of that into where I am today. From, you know, having absolutely no money and being homeless and being vulnerable in a place where I have experienced these moments of extreme violation. All of those things became extremely fertile nourishment for all of the transformation that has occurred, that has literally brought me to this place where I have, you know, built a house and built this business that is sustaining my family. And now we're going to be able to, you know, build a healing center. So I know that these philosophies and these teachings, they really work, because I've really kind of had to live them to be in the place that I am now. And so I'm really joyful that I get to share them with you, because I know how profound they are. And they're profound not because, some ancient famous person or some other famous person like talks about it and it's popular, but they're profound because they talk about the crux of our reality, about these things that are innate and inherent to all of our own energy bodies. Every single person, every single human being on this planet, when we really begin to access our divine creatorship, learn how to remove all the things that are in between us and that place of embodying our divine creatorship, that is literally what is coded in every single human being. And more than anything, I'm just very fortunate to have access to these masters, to these ancestors that have guided me every single step of the way. So I've really been very, very lucky and fortunate to have that. And so it's a great honor to be able to bring this level of remembrance back and have the tools to carry all of us back to that place where not only we are surviving, not only are we doing what we feel we've come to this planet to do, but we're really embodying the infinity of our creatorship, or maybe manipulating big chunks of energy, right? Being able to create hundreds of healing centers, being able to hold billions of humans through this transformation. That's really what we're looking at. It's really what we're here to do. And so we're really here to obliterate all self-doubt and self-loathing and any criticism and all the energies that have been a part of the virus that kept humanity in a low vibration or in a place away from our divine creatorhood. And as we've spoken in previous times, this has really been an experience that has taught us about responsibility, right? It's taught us about our power of creation. And now that we've moved through those teachings, we can actually be really loving and responsible co-creators that are in alignment with the divine. Whew. So we're moving some energy through the lower belly. I can feel some pain coming up here. Yeah, and I'm really just saying all of this as kind of, again, that mirror, that reflection that might be in some ways in a future now moment that's saying like, hey, this stuff didn't get really handed to me. Well, parts of it kind of did. But, at the end of the day, it was created. And it was created through, many years of very difficult processing and purging and bent over a bucket and extraordinary fear and pain, and the willingness to go there so that I can excavate and truly find myself, because, we always know, we have this deep feeling that we're powerful creators. And so we have to discover all of the subconscious parts of ourselves that are in conflict or disagreement with that. And once we excavate and remove all of the blocking agents to our awareness, our full embodied awareness of that truth, then that reality has to be manifest in our reality. And it's really a deep and multifaceted state of mastery, because you're becoming aware of all of these different facets and parts of yourself. And this is a very important part of coming back to life as we're exiting the false matrix. Because in the false matrix, they want to make everything, two-dimensional or just pure polarity. Thank you, Andrea. So by that, I mean that they want to oversimplify everything, as in to dumb the multidimensional human down to say, oh, you're a woman or you're a man. This is all of the descriptions that you could be for your identity. You are a student, you are a doctor, and that those descriptive words kind of become your identity when, you could be all of those things and more simultaneously. And just as you can be all those things simultaneously, you have all of these different facets of you that exist. So your inner guardian, your inner healer, your inner mother, your inner tree, your inner children, your inner priestess, all the different facets of the goddess energy that could express inside you. So I see today as kind of being a transmission that locks in or grounds everything that we've been talking about into a more practical discussion about, our business, because I know that many of us are starting a business or running a business and would like to have this business sustain us and our family and also create abundance so we can, maybe move on to even more humanitarian efforts. So you might want to get a pen and a journal, but of course you can always re-listen to this later because we're going to talk about some very things today. So we are making a transition from the false reality, some call it the purely 3D reality, to the original Gaia consciousness frequency or a higher vibrational reality, or some call it like the 5D and up reality. And so as we're making a transition, sometimes we can have an idea about a business and actually try to operate within the parameters of both realities. And this is sometimes where we run into trouble, because you are one operating system, and it would be like trying to run Mac and Windows at the same time. So you get this glitch, sometimes things starts glitching. And the reason for that is that the parameters or the logarithm of the false matrix and of the organic matrix, there are conflicting codes. So for example, in the false matrix, they say that, we need money to survive. This is like the code or the program. It'll say, we need to work really hard and, exhaust our energy and just really stress ourselves out and have no time for anything else. And who cares about our emotions, override everything just to fulfill these kind of artificial stages of success. So that's like one code, one energy. Obviously, in the higher reality, that is not the energy that we would be working with. And if we had the coding of the first energy and we're trying to create a 5D and up business, there's a gear that's going to kind of jolt and stop and not function properly. So the key is then to cultivate a certain level of awareness in your mind where as you're functioning, as you're working, as you're creating, to be super aware of where the energy is flowing at every now moment, so that you can correct your energy. It's not about, getting somewhere or being already in 5D before you start your business. Is that you can go through this process of refinement over time. Okay, so there's a lot of reprogramming that we're going to be doing. So we're going to go really slow because I can feel the field shifting in our aura and our consciousness. And that's predominantly what we are, trying to do. So we're going to go slowly. Whew. So this is actually a really big process because we have been inside this slavery system for a long time. And in order to truly transform these energies, it can't just be our consciousness or our conscious understanding of the transformation. It has to be pulled all the way through our body, all the way through our energy system, so that when we are just being present, when we're just expressing ourselves, those programs have actually deeply transformed and we're just expressing a whole new energy, if that makes sense. Okay, so yesterday I had a session with one of our ladies in the group, and in our session we were exploring, actually, it's so cool when your souls are connected into lineages and dimensions, because I really get to almost like watch these really cool movies and receive deeper awareness of those lineages and those dimensions. So in this session, we were really exploring kind of kings and queens in the Victorian ages. And it really looked like it was the time when the reptilians first arrived on Earth. And basically the false hierarchy, the false kings and queens, had to create these contracts where basically placed all of the other humans who are not in their blood lineages as their sacrifice, as their slaves, right? This is actually the contract that we were born into on this planet. And even if we don't live in a monarchy in that way anymore, we still kind of do. We vote for our president, and we pay taxes to the government. And so really, there are some people in the world that get to be like crazy rich. They get to own all of the resources, including the humans on this planet. And then there's like the rest of the humans who are really being owned. And so right now, this time, it's really deep that we're literally burning up those contracts. And a lot of those contracts are really deep in our ancestral lineages, thinking about how our parents lived, how my dad, he was super poor. He was like a country farmer. And there was just a lot of insecurity that was deeply ingrained in him. Insecurity is like, fancy things are not for me. Being lucky is not for me. Having fun is not for me. That's for the people who are lucky and rich. I'm just here to work really hard and be a sorry slave. So these programs are more or less inside all of us, and quite deeply, because this body has been in the system for a long, long time. And it's through the unraveling of these codes that we actually then can start to discover our true codes of sovereignty and divine creatorship, that is alive and present and coded in all humans. So it's a big process. So we're talking about this because the root chakra is our concept or understanding of reality, right? So a lot of this is unconscious because our root chakra develops when we're 0 to 7 years old. And during this time, for a lot of it, we're nonverbal and we're literally soaking things up from our environment and learning about the reality. And a lot of that happens purely energetically and psychically, because children and babies are very psychic and energetic. They're just soaking everything up and perceiving the reality through this very pure and innocent place. So if we were born into an environment where our parents were afraid of lack and they didn't know if they were going to have enough, and some of us were even born into like religions that are kind of shameful, that says, oh, humans aren't as good as God, and you're constantly going to be judged, and if you're not good enough, you might go to hell. This kind of, that's our foundation of reality. We really start to believe that the fabric of reality is judging us all the time, and that there's this reality, something to be fearful of. So in the extreme case of this, a lot of sometimes clients have a hard time even leaving their house because they just have this intense fear of humans and the reality itself. It's like the monster's going to jump out and eat you and it's God or something, right? And that could be money. That monster could be money. That monster could be our survival, whatever it is. There's all of these little tendrils of the false reality that have really landed in our root chakra that creates our understanding of what reality is. And so in this process of moving out of the 3D and moving into the higher realities, moving to the root chakra is probably the most important thing, because again, that is really where all of the long-standing programs are kept. Long-standing meaning they get passed down, they're ancestral, they are the programs or the form of reality that maybe our body has been a part of for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So we're really reprogramming what reality is. Okay, so here we're dissecting the non-resonant ancestral, cultural, and foundational belief systems and patterns of life. And I can feel the field working quite strong. I feel like I'm just saying things. English isn't even making sense in my own brain right now. It's like there's transformation of geometries of energy occurring, and in this massive way, and it'll feel like an earthquake. I wouldn't be surprised if there are earthquakes happening, or earthquakes will happen later, because we're really creating these earthquakes in our own energy system in the root chakra, shaking up the foundation of what we think life is. Whew. Just breathe. If it gets a little too intense, then breathe into your heart. Tune into the trees. Tune into my love for you. Yeah, and it feels really great with this pyramid behind me. You can really feel the energy of it. It's really awesome. Okay. So I can feel that there is a lot of stuff around money that is coming up to be transformed. So I'm really excited. I know that, with the number of people that are in our group, if we're able to transform this energy of what money is, it's going to make a big ripple in the world. So what we're doing essentially is balancing the scales and taking the unfair power away from the people that have been hoarding money and using money as a tool of slavery. That's essentially what we're doing when we reclaim our creatorhood, is we're taking that back, because really it's our energy that they have been using, they have been siphoning to create their abundance and their power. Ow. So, so I can feel that there's almost this block in the root chakra, like right around the perineum. It almost feels like this slat. And it feels like something that perpetuates this belief that, money is really hard to get. I have to work really hard to get just a small amount of money. For example, like $10 an hour. $10 an hour is ridiculous. It is slavery, right? Because in the world today, like with your rent that you have to pay, with everything that you have to do, you literally have to spend all of your time doing something that serves no purpose besides you fending for your survival, right? So that is kind of the level of poverty or the state that the majority of people are living in. Even if they're making $40 an hour, those people are still working full time and not really having a lot of time to do what they want. Like most people on earth is not really getting to spend the time that they want doing what they want, because we have this belief that we need to get this energy from the false matrix, and that's the only way that we can sustain ourselves. Whew. Whew. Okay. So one thing that we're doing right now, that's a code that's coming through. If you were part of the group last weekend, we did this process where we literally removed the umbilical cord that we had tied into the false matrix. Because the unconscious and the body, we probably didn't know that there was another matrix at all. And we believe that the false matrix is the only place that we can acquire our life force energy. Whew, I'm feeling like I might throw up. All right. So actually, I would say, she says, to start a 5D business, does one not need to go to school for business? So understand that you can go to school for business, but not like a 3D school, right? I have been in school for business for the last 2-3 years, running my business, being guided and moving with my intuition, right? So I would say that I have been in business school for 2-3 years. I just wasn't in a standard 3D school. And you are in the business course right now. Today we're going in to talk about the different ways that money and business function in the higher New Earth reality. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like when we have an intention that we want to learn something, we can really trust that the universe is going to bring that to us. This is a function of the organic matrix, where it's really just your consciousness creating your reality, where you're saying, hey, I would like to experience this. My soul would like to learn more about this. And the reality is supposed to respond and literally bring it to you. Okay, so I'm just kind of allowing this intense energy to flow through, but I guess we can start talking about how energy functions in the New Earth reality. So when you begin to operate in the New Earth or 5D and plus value system, you're literally creating that reality. And this is the next step of when you hear grid workers say we're creating the crystalline grid. Yeah. So when they say we're creating the crystalline grid, it's really a new vibration or a system of energy. And at first, we only experienced that on an energetic level for many years now, right? We are like, oh, we're working with the crystalline grid. We can feel this energy coming in. I'm Haley, I'm sweating. I feel like I might throw up. This is really intense here, right? So, whew. Now what's happening is that this reality is really beginning to manifest in the physical. And it's manifesting through our embodiment of the new earth reality. So we're literally creating it as we go. And so this is, really cool because you know that you're an advanced being. If you're here in this room right now, if you're somebody that is a forerunner, like if you're awake right now and your whole existence is about shifting into the new earth and literally stamping it down and creating it, you are one of the most badass beings in the whole universe, literally. Okay. It's a hard word, but it's so cool. And it's literally putting in, all the aspects of your soul, all the things that you have learned over many lifetimes, to put all of those things into action, all of the alchemy, all of the grid weaving, all of the tools of creation that you have in your lockbox, in your toolbox. So, as I'm talking, we're working through these programs and fears that are in the lower body, all the parts of us that are kind of in disbelief because we've spent so long in the false matrix that taught us reality was a certain way, that these parts of us just have a hard time accepting that there is, another way to do things. Okay. So this next part that I'm about to say will be really succinct and is going to basically be the how to say the algorithm or the program to be able to create a 5D business. Okay. So basically we have to start talking about value. In the false matrix, we have a completely broken and distorted value system, right? They're basically saying your life force energy is worth this many dollars per hour. We don't really care if what you're doing is even fulfilling to your energy whatsoever. You are not valuable. You are valued at just enough to keep you alive, and that's it. So in order to move into the new earth reality, we have to completely revamp our idea of what value is, because value is really energy exchange. And value is really what money is supposed to represent. So when we begin to function in a reality where we are applying the correct value to the money, we're literally reprogramming money. That is not to say that money will not disappear in the near or later future. That's not to say that money might not transform into something completely different. But for this now moment right here, money still exists. And so we're going to have to work with it, right? There's probably a good reason for that. And I find that if money is such a powerful force that enslaved everyone, then it also might just be the portal to take all that power away. So we're now recognizing that if we can reprogram our idea of money and begin to think of it as energy, monergy, and that we can begin to create a correct sense of value. And this is where kind of some alchemy needs to happen. Ooh. So first of all, we have to really move through our entire body, not just with our awareness and our mind, right? It's like we all understand that we are divine creatures that are more valuable than 10 bucks. We all believe that and understand that, but we have to be able to pull that belief through our body in order to reprogram ourselves. Okay. Yeah, and I can feel that there's an energy that we're pulling in with this idea of reprogramming value, and I can feel all the places it's kind of hitting things in our energy body. So we have to go slow. Ooh, I'm there with you, sister. I'm feeling nauseous myself. I can really feel it. So just breathe. If you're feeling the intensity, go into your heart. Find your favorite tree. Know that this is really what you've been asking for. A little jump start. Sick of all this crap belief systems that I'm still carrying in my body. Like, what is that? Hey, at least we're not bent over a bucket, you know. doing good. Whoo! Candace says toddler is lit. Okay, taking a moment, allowing the energy to move through the body, through the solar plexus, moving through the root. Solar plexus is huge. Okay, so we're gonna start actually, I'm feeling called to move into this energy because I think we need a little help here. Okay, so we're gonna do a contract burning. we love you, Sarah. That's really good. Okay. So, source of creation, we're commanding for a complete dissolution, renunciation of all agreements and contracts made consciously and unconsciously in all dimensions, in all of time and space, in all parallel selves, in all of our genetics, which gives away the power and access and ownership of our body, mind, spirit, emotions, and energy in all ways, shape, and form. Woo! Woo! Type that out here. Woo! I know that's a mouthful, but it's really good to be super specific because we'll find a hole in there to stay. So one more time, source of creation, we are commanding for a complete renunciation, complete dissolution of all agreements and contracts made consciously and unconsciously in all dimensions, all of time, space, all parallel selves, and all of our genetics, which gives away access, ownership of our body, mind, spirit, energy, emotions in all ways, shapes, and forms. Okay. And so it is. So I'm going to allow that energy to move through. We're going to do it one more time. I'm feeling it move through the solar plexus here. Oh. Okay, and find the feeling of it when you're speaking. Speak from your creator self, like you really mean it. Like, this is my body, GTFO. Okay, one more time, okay? Yes, speaking it out loud is the best. Speak with conviction. Speak with your soul. Speak with the knowingness that you are the creator. This is your body. You don't owe it to anything or anyone. And speak it with all of your genes, all of the mitochondria and all of your cells, okay? Source of creation, we are commanding for a complete renunciation, complete dissolution of all agreements and contracts made consciously and unconsciously in all dimensions, all of time, space, all parallel selves, and all of our genetics, which gives away access and ownership of our body, mind, spirit, energy, emotions in all shapes and forms and ways. Pull it through. Breathe. We love you, Haley. We're here with you. You got this. Okay, so now that we've removed that, we are going to do a second invocation which pulls in the sovereignty geometry. Mandip, you're totally on point. Yay. Yeah, set that on fire or something. All right. Source of creation, we are commanding for an integration and download of the Creator's perspective of my complete and irrevocable divine sovereignty. We are commanding for an integration of the geometry of absolute divine creative sovereignty in my body, mind, spirit, energy, emotions, in all dimensions, in all of time, space, in all parallel selves, and all of my genetics. So the reason why we're writing commanding in this way is not that we're like saying, hey, God, do this. It's saying that we are co-creating. Man is like the hand energy. We're using our hand to create. So we're co-creating with the Creator for this intention to come through. So that is why we're writing commanding in this way. Okay, one more time. Pulling it all the way through with all the mitochondria in all of our cells. Source of creation, we are commanding for an integration and download of the Creator's perspective of my complete and irrevocable divine sovereignty. We are commanding for an integration of the geometry of absolute divine creative sovereignty in my body, mind, spirit, energy, emotions, in all dimensions, in all of time, space, all parallel selves, and all of my genetics. It's good if you're feeling hot. I'm feeling super hot. Heat is like an oven. Heat actually transforms and mutates DNA. So when you're getting really hot when you're doing this work, you're literally putting your genetics in an oven and you're cooking it so it can transform. So that's really great. Karen is cold. So you might be in a different dimension. So try actually tuning into all of your cells. Feeling all the cells that are scintillating in our body. Because, a lot of these programs are ancestral. It is what the body has experienced for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Okay, so Alina, try to do some deep breathing. Hyperoxygenate, might need more oxygen for combustion. Me, I'm feeling super hot and a little bit nauseous. Yay, good job, Sarah. Okay, so we're gonna just do this one more time and then we're gonna move forward. Okay. Source of creation, we are commanding for an integration and download of the Creator's perspective of my complete and irrevocable divine sovereignty. We are commanding for an integration of the geometry of absolute divine creative sovereignty in my body, mind, spirit, energy, emotions, in all dimensions, all of time, space, all parallel selves, and all of my genetics. Ooh, just sing it into existence. Ooh, so it is. Okay, so shake it out, shake it out. Maybe you want to like move the body around. Let's do that.